Hello, good evening. Hopefully you can hear me all right. But we are back. It is a couple of days after CitizenCon, and it's probably time now to have a chat about how we all think it went and what's next, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, I'm just going to find a place to put you. I didn't do this very well. Oh God, I thought I'd had all this set up. And it turns out that is not quite true. But that's looking pretty good. Let's do that. Oh, it was all going so well. Lots of scuffing and stuff, and sorry. Hello, Errol. Good to see you. Drop Yogurt. Stunner. Good to see you all, guys. Please, you could join us. I'm just going to muck around with my camera a little bit, because it's trying to cut the top of my head off at the minute. It's trying to scalp me. Dirty monster. How are we all feeling in the wake of CitizenCon and everything else? Are we all good? Have we had a good week? Has it been pleasant to digest, or have there been some nasty bits in there for you guys? Whilst you're sorting an answer to that one, we are slumming it today. It was Sunday, and I took one look at the supermarket. Because there's been a big fireworks show. It looks like lots of people have come over. We're going to do their shopping, have something to eat, and then watch the fireworks. So yeah, it was absolutely heaving in the supermarket, so I just stuck with the emergency cider. But cheers all. Happy Sunday. So, Drop Yogurt says hyped. What was your thing, mate? What was the biggest thing you took away from it? What were your highlights? Just while you're thinking about that one, and the same to anyone else. What was your highlights from CitizenCon? Today we are going to get a little bit spicy, but I just woke up this morning and chose violence, so that's what we're going to do. By golly. We're going to have a look at a couple of the bits from the roadmap roundup, bits that are coming that are now back on the release schedule and all that sort of good stuff. We are, of course, going to talk about CitizenCon. Now that we've had a chance to calm down just a little bit, we can, look at it with a bit more of a critical eye, although I have a feeling I know where I'm going to end up with it. We're also going to have a look at a few other pieces happening around the web. I want to have a look at some of the military ships that are in the background, because some of them have been covered already. Astro Historian did a really, really good video on some of the stuff from the Squadron 42 trailer, but I think there might be something that so far everyone has missed, and we'll have a look. But that's cool. Stunner says, all good. The only haters I heard about were choking on their own salt this week. Interesting. Is that a particular choice of words, Stunner? Are we pointing at anyone there? But, yeah, good. Drop Your says, server meshing and Squadron 42. Even the most skeptical backers have got to be impressed. Interestingly, we're going to have a look at some of that, because I have two posts that I want to react to from inside the r/Star Citizen refunds. So that's me choosing violence. We're going to go over there. I'm going to put the boot in because they're wrong. Or these two particular posts are wrong, and I want to go and have a look at that. Dropbox is also really excited for sliding, excited for the pyro look, and of course the first wave of that opens tomorrow. Hopefully I've reached CIG's notice. Hi CIG. And maybe I'll get in on that. Right, CIG? Right? But we'll see. I had some playing this weekend. I've been trying it out. Haven't implemented the fix yet, so remember that when I talk about this stuff. But had stable gameplay on Friday. That went very well. Cleared some locations out with Stunner and then a few others. And then tried to visit Horizon to sell some salvage that I'd done. and crashed 5 times getting to the trade center, crashed more like 15 to 20 times getting out of horizontal atmosphere. So that was incredibly painful. And then today, completely did the whole of the Black Kite mission all by myself, all in one sitting with no crashes. I then logged in to tidy up some footage because with it, I then released a short today. So go and have a look at that when you get a chance. But that short's kicking around somewhere. It's all about the Black Kite mission. Shinobi Trip. Hello. Good morning to you, sir, as it's morning where you are at the minute. Ray Louderback's up in as well. Best CitizenCon yet, he says. And that Squadron 40 something might be good too. Yeah, 100%. And I guess we can kind of have a look at a bit of that as well. If people want to, we can have a react to that. But that looks really good. And then hopefully, by the end of next week, we will be the very first to play Squadron 42, the text-based adventure. in asterisk somewhere in the fine print, it's actually the text-based adventure. But it turns out you can train ChatGPT to do some fun things with Squadron 42. You can give it parameters of a game. I even asked it what happens if we want to do something that ChatGPT hasn't given us as an option, and it says, tell me and I'll do that instead. So that's kind of cool, right? So we'll have a go at it. Judomo, hello, dude. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. So yeah. Last 2 days have been really rough. Are they running Xenothreat and not telling anyone? ? No clue. I think the servers are suffering a little, although for why, I wouldn't be able to tell you. But yeah. Cool. Good stuff. Okay, so one of the things I do want to have a look at is just the roadmap roundup, so we'll have a look at that first. So let's head over there now. Okay, so this actually came out on Sunday of CitizenCon, which I think slipped a little bit under the radar for absolutely everyone, because we were all watching CitizenCon or recovering from CitizenCon or recovering from the stupid drinking game we decided to engage in at CitizenCon. But what we've seen here is, once again, they've reinforced Squadron 42 is now feature complete. The game has moved into the polishing phase, not the polishing phase, which a couple of people seem to have jumped on, which you will see reflected on the progress tracker. Okay, and then a really interesting bit, so I'll slow this down. Additionally, Squadron 42 teams have now been divided into strike teams, represented as new teams on the progress tracker. These teams' headcount is represented by the main stakeholders, but the teams themselves are comprised of developers across multiple disciplines, including design, engineering, art, audio, and more. They'll all be working on a single deliverable, Squadron 42 polishing, as their tasks become more agile and they work towards beta and release. As was the case with Squadron 42 teams previously, these teams will only display 1/4 of work at a time. We've added 4 strike teams to the progress tracker with this publish, with additional ones to be added in the future. Okay, so every 2 weeks, obviously, we get an update to the progress tracker, so that's how long they're talking. They are obviously looking at more than 1/4 of at a time, as that's what they've stated, right? As was the case with Squadron 42 teams previously, these teams will only display 1/4 of work at a time. If you didn't expect it to take that long, you wouldn't have made a statement like that. Okay, so it's definitely going to be 2 quarters. We're definitely looking middle of next year. At the absolute earliest, I have no idea when precisely, but I'd be interested in what you guys think in the comments. Jadomo says, there seem to be a lot of new players this week. Personally, I thought it was genius. That's cool. Which bit was genius? Was Squadron or CitizenCon or Sorry, I'm not keeping up, I'm afraid. Cool. Okay. So the key thing here really is the Scout is going to surprise absolutely no one. It's in. The F8 Lightning is going to surprise no one. It's in. We've all done that. Oh, the drinking game, Jadoma. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, my friend. I may well keep a hold of it for something like that. Possibly not next year, because my hope is that if it's next year, that actually I will attend, and I'd love to see as many of you there as possible. That would be really cool. But what that means in terms of content at that point, I'm not sure, because when I go to these things with the amount of money that it costs, certainly while I'm funding it myself, I'm more inclined to sit there and enjoy it rather than worry about interviews and fitting things in and trying to react in between panels and stuff like that. So we'll have to see. But cool. But obviously the big thing on the release view is ships trespass. Okay. And it says the interior of players' ships are now considered trespass zones for those without permission to enter. Permission will be granted via the party system until more complex systems for managing crew and passengers is created. Okay. Players trespassing aboard a ship can be attacked by the owner of the ship and any player in their party without fear of committing a crime. So it's going to become a lot tougher to, kind of to do any sort of sneaking aboard ships. Like I tried to do it today. I watched someone drop a can in one of the stations, and I'd already shouted at him. I was like, "Don't drop that. Put it in the bin." And he dropped it anyway. So I kind of picked the can up, and I was hoping he would go to a ship with a ramp, so I could just pop it on the ramp and run away like hee hee. Take your trash with you, but no. He saw me coming to the same hangar, and then that was that. So yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to pop a poll up about release date. Okay. And obviously, I can't do two things at once because my brain doesn't work like that. Yeah. But yeah, what do you think? How long till Squadron 42 hits release? Question mark. Cool. Let's start that one. Let's see what you guys think. Okay. Now, let's have a look at, just while we populate, we're up to 14 viewers, I just want to have a look at something that's going on in the background of this video. Some you may have already seen. As I said, Paul, the Astro historian, also does the Astro Pub channel. Okay, has already kind of pointed this out. But I don't think he got everything. Okay, so let's have a look at what I'm talking about. Okay, so this has been pointed out a number of times. Okay, we have this thing here. Okay, and what's really interesting as we go through is that this thing looks like it's some form of cruiser. Okay, and the reason for that, I won't steal his thunder. The Astro historian did this, did a piece on this. And it came out, I think, yesterday, so go and have a look at that. But he basically talks about how this looks like a Bengal, but what you have on it, okay, are these turrets here. Okay, so it's not a Bengal. Looks a little bit shortened. Okay, that ramp may well not open, or it may have its own complement of fighters. The engine cells look different, but very, very clearly, two of these large turrets that the Bengal has underslung. Okay, and then here he says it might look like something different. I don't think it is. I think that is simply 2 more turrets exactly like this one, but the guns are pointing down as opposed to pointing up, right? So I think those are the same thing. There's a couple of other interesting things you keep your eye on. One of this is this thing here. Okay, and we'll have a look as we go through. And I don't know why that's suddenly gone to Wheel of Death. That's not helpful, is it? Unless I've just lost the internet completely. That would be bum. No? Okay. So let's have a look. Okay, so that is clearly a hammerhead then. Looking closer, you've got the front there, you've got turret, turret, side turret, side turret. You can just see the top turret sticking out and then the rear turret. Okay, so that's cool. Fine. What's that? There's something else in that video and everyone's missed it. It kind of looks like that might be the front of the Bengal, because it's got the front bit there, and there's also the bridge bit, which is this here. But there is no clear nacelles here. Okay, so you can't see the mouse movements. That's frustrating. How do I do that? Okay. Right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to my super secret, incredibly advanced image enhancement software. Okay? That is 100% patented. No one else is going to use it. Okay? Lol. Right. So, we have, if I grab a pen and grab the line and grab this bit and whatever else. Okay. So, the first thing we've got here is this thing. Okay. So, that's a Hornet there. Okay. This thing, as you can just about see, you can see it clearer on this one here. Okay. That's a turret. Okay. So, going back to the video itself, okay, you can see what I'm looking at. All right, going back to that now, if it lets me go back to it. No, it doesn't, because it's rubbish. Okay, I'll wait for that to boot in. You'll just suddenly hear the music, and that'll be that. Okay, but what you've got here is you've got a turret there, you can just about see, and then there's one forward, and on here it's hidden, okay, behind the Hornet. Okay, so there's a turret here, and you've got exactly the same things on that one. Okay, Astro has talked about it. That's that. Okay, so the other ship that I was confused about is this one here. Okay, which is obviously now a hammerhead. There's the turret. There's a turret. You've got that one at the back, that one at the back, and then just at the top here is the top turret. Okay, so that's a hammerhead. That's fine. Here's the interesting one. What's that? What on earth is that thing? Okay, now the front of it, this flat line here, kind of looks like the Bengal's flat line there. Okay, however, you've also got this bit at the top. Sorry about that. Had the windows open again today, aerate the place out, and I'm paying the price for it now. Okay, that kind of does look like this arrangement on top. However, you've got a very obvious thruster array, okay, an engine array on all of them there that is 100% missing here, because this is much further forward. There isn't anything that sticks out behind that thruster array, but here, on this one, there is. I don't know what that is. Does anyone else know what that is? I might be being... Someone will say something and I'll go, that's what it is. Is that the Pegasus? Because the last time we saw the Pegasus, it was long, jaunty, and not particularly looking like that. Right? The Pegasus has very old... very old artwork. I'm just going to have a look at some now. So let's have a look at the Star Citizen wiki. Okay. So this is what it looks like at the minute. Okay, that's the Pegasus artwork. Clearly a very jaunty front, a very pointy front, where the other one doesn't have that. Okay, there are some bits that stick up here, possibly, but it doesn't, to me. If that is the Pegasus, it's received a massive rework. Okay, and we'll just zoom in a bit just for fun. I don't know what that is, but that doesn't look like anything in the current build-up lineup. Okay, for comparison, you have your hammerhead here and here. There's a javelin. It gives you an idea of scale, right? Because the javelin looks to be further away than that. So it's not a javelin. Okay, it doesn't have the thruster array of the Bengal. Okay, and if you notice, this has the sticky up bit going up, although I suppose it could be the ones that are the bit sticking down on the other side. Okay. Yeah. It's interesting, but it does not match anything else on that lineup. And even as they continue the video, yeah. So, possibly, although it completely lacks anything that looks like it might be a turret up there. It's a very interesting shape, because that's a flat front, which the Nautilus doesn't have. It's on a Polaris, it's not angular enough. Polaris doesn't have a thing sticking out on the top, because that thing is there all the way through the scene. We've not caught something in, like, takeoff mode. So I have no idea what that is. Right? But it doesn't seem to match anything whatsoever in our lineup, which is really, really interesting. Yeah, so I just thought I brought you that attention. Bring that to your attention, because of course with the rest of this, as they come back, you see what I mean? It stays there the whole time. It does not look like a Bengal. Given its size, Notorious, good to see you, my friend. We are just talking about, if you look, because you can't see my mouse on the screen, which is really frustrating, but if you look directly up from the Bengal's bridge in the near ground, look directly up and slightly left. What is that? That's the mystery that we're trying to solve at the minute. It could be a Nautilus rework, as someone's pointing out. It could be, you know, if you look at the size of these and the shape of these, all the thrusters are at the back here. It seems to have something there, but we don't have the thrusters. They would be a lot more prominent if you look at the back of the Bengal. Yep, those thrusters are right at the back. There's very little that sticks out behind it from this angle, which is a very similar angle to what that vessel is at. Okay, yeah, really, really interesting. I think it's too big to be a Nautilus. I genuinely do, given the fact that the ship to the right of it is a Javelin at 400 meters, whatever it is. Yeah, monstrous size. So interesting. I think we've got something in there. As the Astro historian kind of pointed out, as Paul pointed out, further on into the video, there's a bit where the man himself, Admirable Bishop, okay, is talking on the bridge. And what's interesting is what's on the holographic display behind him.
They ask, what did you do in the Battle of Vega? You can look them in the eye and...
Okay, so what you can actually see here, okay, is you've got some names.
I heard the line.
Okay, and he's done the research. This wasn't me. He's done the research. There are 2 ships in that lineup. One of them doesn't give any results. One of them 100% gives a cruiser setup. So what's really interesting is those Bengal class with the 2 turrets on are just cruisers. Not battle cruisers, not battleships, just cruisers. Which is really interesting. Because it looks very much like they are... So that's what we're talking about here. If you look directly in front of the Bengal's bridge, yeah, in the background it looks like another Bengal, but it's got 2 whopping great turrets on it. That's a cruiser. When do I get to fly that? But yeah, so very, very cool. So cruisers are the workhorses of the fleet. Okay, their job was to screen carriers and battleships from destroyers. Some of them also carried, certainly into the Second World War, which is what their rock, paper, scissors sort of ship lineup is. Their responsibility was anti-aircraft fire. Okay, you had heavy cruisers, you had light cruisers. Heavy cruisers were upgunned. You had things like the Graf Spee, which was a pocket battleship, so it was a cruiser with battleship-sized weaponry. There's all sorts of variation within the cruiser lineup. It's really hard to pin them down to one task. These obviously look like they are, straight up big stuff. But here, what's really nice as well, you've got below this really big turret. So if you just look below the bridge, there's a really large turret array. My understanding is that those are size 12 railguns, multiple of them in one turret. I'm guessing that might be what's in the turret of that ship behind it, but we don't know. What's really interesting there is if you look just forward of the Bengal, when the very first trailer happened, which you might go and have a look at, actually, that might be quite good fun as like a throwback thing to go and have a look at the very first Kickstarter trailer. Hello, Sonny Boy. Good to see you. I think, is that your first appearance in chat? But if it is, welcome. And if it's not, apologies, welcome back. But yes, there is the leaked Squadron 42 trailer had that cruiser in the background alongside somewhere, docked, and we were looking down on it. So you could see the detail on like the turrets and whatnot. So that was quite impressive. But that ship at the top, I have no idea what that is, and I don't think we've had that leaked before. But yeah, what's really interesting, if you look at the on the Bengal's deck, just forward, there appears to be a large, almost like Halo Scorpion tank style weapon sticking up from the main deck, which is interesting because that area was where they had a Hornet sat on the top deck, but that wasn't there before. Okay, but yeah, what's really interesting as well is kind of just how far this has come from what it was before, right? So I'm just going to show you something very, very quickly. Oh, stand by. in a shock revelation, first of all, when something disappears off my screen, it's not my streaming stuff, because I've got 2 screens now, so surprise. Secondly, unsurprisingly, oh look, a Perseus. That's no big shock to anyone, right? Okay, I don't know why it keeps doing that. These technical problems, guys, I can't keep playing this anymore. Right, let's kill that, because for some reason it's not playing. Okay, so I'm going to end that poll there and see what you guys come up with. Cool. Okay, so 53% of people in chat think that 7 to 12 months till Squadron 42 hits release. 13 months to 2 years is a third of you. 6% being optimists, next 6 months, and 6% being pessimists, 2 years plus. Okay. I think one of the things that I wanted to say is just, I guess, a little bit of caution. I'm very optimistic about where they are with Squadron 42 and so on, right? Very optimistic. They're in the polishing phase. That should be very, very good for us. Hopefully this means now that we're going to start to see more people come across to work on the PU, to work on Star Citizen as well, and we'll see, with any luck, a real pickup of progress within the game, because they've got all these features that they're going to bring across. It very much looks like they are incomplete enough a state to be brought into the verse. So hopefully that will happen, and that will be a good thing, quote unquote, right? What I do want to do in just a second, I said doo-doo. Let's go and have a very quick look at this one. Okay, so you've seen the Squadron 42 trailer. Let's have a look at this. For those that don't know, this is the Kickstarter trailer that they released all the way back in 2012. Okay, and this is from the Star Citizen, the official channel, so you can go and find this should you want to. Okay, this is the original trailer. And yes, before you ask, this is the music from Battleship, that god-awful film with Liam Neeson about aliens and battleships fighting each other. It's very clearly a Bengal, but you can see the turret and stuff. You can see just how far it's come. I gotta say, I do like the music. So this is how far the game's come. This is, I'll just take you back just a second there. I want to know what those are. When do we get those? They look pretty cool. Right, moving on. Indie then, AAA now, says Shinobi. Just how far they paid another company to put this together for them, right? This was all put together outside of the studio, because at the time this went, yeah. So this is the music from Battleship. Here come the bad guys, because the music's changed. So what's really cool here, if you look at the front of the Bengal, A, there is no turret, like we said. You may notice this from the previous trailer with Admirable Bishop walking around. I keep calling him Admirable, I'll tell you why in a sec. But they have alert fighters on the outside, so if they're ambushed and they were closer than this, they wouldn't need to open the hangar doors and potentially open themselves to being boarded. So there's the alert fighter taking up from up off the deck, where that turret is now. You can see the Hornets still there, actually, here. So that means with them sat on the deck, they can change crews by walking back in, if this is all magnetized. Okay, and they can come back out again, and they're not burning hours on the ship and everything else, and they can be launched without an advert. So, there we go. This is so cool. This is what captured my attention. These screens that just flick out, and as you change settings, the idea was that you would tap those things and things would happen. They would fold away again. Can't wait to do that in VR. That's just going to blow my mind. And then look how far we've come. I mean, that hasn't changed much. There's still crap tons of fire that comes up a Bengal when it's under attack. If anyone's seen it be attacked at IAE or Fleet Week, it just, yeah. That's such a cool concept. Using ships as terrain as you dogfight, to use them as cover right line of sight. And the idea of explosions turning into the Squadron 42 logo, like that hasn't gone away, has it? Okay, so quite a
achieved with CryEngine 3.
Not CryEngine 3 anymore. But yeah, so quite an improvement, quite a move on from the previous. Yeah, so. I mean, the good thing here is ship trespass dropped off and is immediately back on, which is really cool. There's obviously a lot of stuff that they've said that's going to come by the end of the year. A lot of the graphical improvements, the character customization, the hairstyles, all that sort of stuff. One of the really interesting things that I picked up from all of that was Sean Tracy was talking about the leather on Gary Oldman's coat, and he talked about, how it collides now. It collides with objects, it collides with scenery, it collides with him. As he's going up the stairs, it looks different because obviously his legs are kicking the back of it up and stuff. And that's really cool. And I thought, oh God, our graphics cards are in for a kicking. And then he dropped that it's more efficient than what we had before. And it got me to thinking, we always expect games to improve, but to be massively more taxing on our rigs, right? That's the arms race with the graphics cards. We've got to have more. It's got to be faster. It's got to be better. It's got to be raw. And actually, you've got a better looking effect that collides more, does more scans, and is more efficient. So what does that mean for the idea that games have to get more taxing on a system just to do anything? That anything improved must mean higher performance from a rig. And I don't know whether that's just a universal truth, or whether that part of that is because actually everything, all the other game development we've had from studios, get it out, make money, sell it, get it out. We need more of it. We need to sell it. We need to ship units. We need to make our money back. Stop mucking about and give it back. That doesn't leave a lot of money for optimization. When you remove that element from it, and games are developed and released when they're ready, does that mean that these processes can look better and be more efficient? Tax our systems less. Now, of course, I'm not suggesting that new games aren't going to need better rigs. They are. That's just the way things go, right? Everything is going to need to get better. But does that mean that you can make much better graphical advances and much better system advances in the same time period if you're actually worried about how it impacts the engine rather than just quick sell it, we need to ship more titles? I don't know. What do you guys think? Susan Scott says, it means the game never has to come out. Well, unfortunately, Squadron 42 is going to come out. And what's going to be really interesting for a lot of people, I think, is that when it comes out, we're going to switch. Is that the people who want the game to come out are accused of copium. Huffing copium when something comes out, when something's handed out to them. And what's really interesting is since CitizenCon, it's switched. The people that are huffing copium are now the skeptics. Because they said Squadron 42 was never coming out. Well, it is. So now it's, oh, well, it doesn't look like real gameplay. Oh, well, that looks like it'll need a massively high-end rig, and it looks like that's copium. It's copium for the haters. Because they said it would never come out. This was vaporware. Remember, this is a scam. And scams don't release a product. Nor do they build a 1,300-person studio from the 12 people that were working on it originally, and 3 of those are family members. Right? So they're not really working on it, they're helping out. Because it's not work till you get paid, right? So, yeah. It's really interesting. So, yeah, there's a lot of copium is going to be huffed by the haters. And this is the flip now, is that we were told that every time we jumped on seeing something that, oh, that's hopium or copium or whatever else. And it's not the case anymore. And what you actually saw, and I whilst I'm talking to you, I'm going to load this up, okay? Because what we saw at the end of that was really, really important. And I don't know if you guys caught it. Okay? It was a human moment. I'm not talking about anything announcement-wise. There was no secret message. There was no Morse code or, one frame that gave us details about stuff. This is really, really important. And I think it's important that we spot this, right? That we see it. So I'm just going to grab it now. So it was basically, I don't know if they showed it off, because I might have to go onto their Twitch channel for this, because I don't think it's in any of their videos, but where it is in the bit afterwards. So it's the hold the line presentation, and after the hold the line presentation, Chris comes to the stage. There it is. Found it. Okay. Okay. Let's have a look. Here we go. Okay. I'm just going to try and accelerate it towards the end. Okay. This bit. I don't know if you understand what you're seeing right now. Right? I'm sure you do. I don't mean to be speaking down to you. That's not what I'm trying to do. What we're seeing here is... Oh, hang on. Sorry. I'm just going to jump across. Let me go to... sorry. While I'm talking, I'm having awful problems finding the bit that I'm... Just your pretty face, your pretty face. Hey Matthew, Sergeant Teddy Bear, nice to meet you. Glad to have you here. Citizen Scott, hello buddy. Shady Face, good to see you again. Sorry, I am skipping through. I've killed the sound just for now. Right. So here we go. Let's jump across. I'm going to jump into the bottom right hand corner, I think. There we go. Right, let's have a look. Probably one of the coolest parts of the trailer, right? These guys look awesome. Yes, Richard, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Space swords. Matthew, space swords, 100% melee combat. Right. I'm going to move the mouse over because I want to pause this. Yeah, proud. Watch this. Right? And I get emotional when I think about this because it's not about the game. Right? Love him or hate him, this is the face of a guy who has been told for the last 12 years, you are scamming people. You're taking their money. You have no intention of releasing anything. This is a scam. You are stealing money. You're building your mansion. You're this, that, and the other. Right? That's what he's been told. And he comes out and he shows that and he tells us it's feature complete. And a room full of Star Citizen supporters give him a standing ovation. And it's the moment that he finally shows that building two games, one single player, one massively multiplayer, whilst building a studio from 12 people to 1,300, right? That's not 100% increase. That's over 1,000% increase, right? Whilst dealing with all the shit, all the media hit pieces, all their what's his face, the idiot on Twitter who they settled with. The dude who built Battlecruiser 3000 AD. I'm not even going to say his name. You know who I mean. Longer backers. Right. They've created, as Citizen Scott says, a next-gen engine. He's come out, he's announced this. It may be another year. It may be another 2 years. It may be another 3 years. But that game looks fucking awesome. Right? And Squadron 42 has gone from something that yeah, I kind of hope it would like drive players towards Star Citizen universe and that and all the rest of it. If Star Citizen had never existed, I would be so hyped for Squadron 42 having seen that. I would be so hyped for that game. But the two can't exist without each other, right? But this is an incredible moment for this guy. And he even says, like, if you keep doing that, I'm going to burst into tears, right? He also said, and someone mentioned it earlier when we talked about what was a highlight, someone said server meshing. I think it was Drop Yogurt. We're going to come back to this, right? But this guy's now vindicated. It might be a little bit longer, but the work has been going in, and they've got that stuff. Yeah, it's. I'm just so pleased for him. Yeah, I'm never really. I take all the dates with a pinch of salt, and I 100% live by. It needs to wait till it's ready. No Man's Sky didn't, and it took 5 more years for that game to fix itself. Now, here's a question. How long do you think it would have taken No Man's Sky to implement those fixes if they weren't also dealing with a live release? Right? If they weren't having to constantly patch and fix the game as it was. And get small updates in to keep people fed with content. Because that's what we're seeing with Star Citizen, right? Is we're seeing this elongated development. But he's got there. We've got this game. It looks absolutely incredible. The side-by-sides of Gillian Anderson and Gary Oldman with their other characters is just incredible. The tech has really, really come on. I'm really impressed. And, this is my after the hype. I released a video earlier this week with some side-by-side shots as much as I could. Just awesome. Martial arts, they promise, says Citizen Scott. Yeah. Shady Fez, I rise, I take, I ascend. Yeah. I reckon his face will be the same when Badgers get to walks around the Perseus. Yeah, 100%. I can't wait for that ship. It's going to be biblical. Great moment for us all, says Errol. Yeah, 100%. Richard says it's a vindication of a sort for him. Yeah, and the big one will come when it's released. I really hope it's a good game off the back of that. But having seen that stuff, it looks incredible. What'll be really good to see once the game's out is how big a space battle it can deal with. Because we keep seeing those basically cutscenes. Show me how many ships you can render. That'll be really cool. Shadyface said we got an early show of what they look when they showed server meshing working. Can't imagine the pressure he was feeling. Yeah. Sergeant Teddy Bear says, since I backed this game in 2014 and watched during 2013, never doubted. It's going to take as long as it takes, 100%. The thing here is that you look at things like Grand Theft Auto, right? Grand Theft Auto took about the same as Red Dead 2. They took about 8 years, right? Starfield was even longer, but we still don't have the details on that. Red Dead 2 is always a good one because they release loads of information about like how much it cost, how many people were working on it. And people say, well, there were only a few hundred working. Yes, but Rockstar have a number of studios. The studio that maintains their game engine, that's all they do, is 600 people big. Just maintaining the game engine. And updating it and iterating on it. 600 people for a game engine. So that's not the game development teams on top. It's scary figures, right? And they built that up. Sonny Boy says there are 2 more chapters for Squadron 42 yet to come. Absolutely. I forget what they're called. I'm sure someone in chat will let me know. But yeah, I think there's a name for the second one. I don't think the third one's got a name yet. But that's really cool. And hopefully what that does is that generates interest of people that maybe aren't in Star Citizen. And maybe they look to come across and keep kind of refreshing the player base. But what's really interesting here is I've not done a video on this yet, and let me know what you think if you guys would like me to sit me and fully flesh out my thoughts on this. I don't think Squadron 42, sorry, Star Citizen and Starfield, I don't think that's a useful comparison, right? For a whole bunch of reasons. Number one being they're not the same game. One's single player, one's multiplayer. The second one being that they're not trying to do the same things, right? I got bugs in here again. Sorry, so if you see them floating around, that's why I keep every so often going to catch them. I've not caught one yet. I need some chopsticks. Has anyone got any chopsticks? I need some. But yes. Yeah, and as Shady Face says, there are people in the GTA community who are already crying that they're taking too long to release GTA 6. 100%. Where I do think there's a really useful comparison is Squadron 42 and Starfield. And not a straight up which one's better, oh my god, Starfield's going to end Star Citizen, or Squadron 42, but a comparison of the styles that they take. So Squadron 42 is a throwback to the run on rails, there's a story, you'll play it through, and you might play it through in different ways, you might be given different ways to solve the same problems, but you're still going there. You can't just abandon the main quest, and as far as we're aware, and go off and do whatever you want, right? Whereas Starfield's completely different. You can do whatever you want. You can set up your own trading empire. You can go and do, you can do all sorts of stuff. You can go into manufacture. You can shift drugs around. You can be a bad guy. You can be a good guy, and never finish the story and still continue playing and doing stuff. Whereas you can't do that in Squadron 42. Where I think there's room for a comparison is there still space for those two types of games within gaming? Because there's no doubting it that the older version, the version that Squadron 42 completes to, is here's a set of chapters, you play through the chapters from start to finish, you finish the game, right? In its very basic idea, that's a platformer, that's Mario, that's levels, and then that upgrades to chapters. Wing Commander did exactly the same thing. A lot of the old games, and then you had things like Freelancer that started to deviate into more of the Starfield realm. And of course, we had to get to a certain level of advancement with single-player games and with technology and the programming before we could ever offer anything like Skyrim or Starfield or anything like that. Does that mean that the old version has to die? Does that mean that people no longer want the run on rails? Look at one of the most successful games, look at both successful games in the world, Fortnite. Multiple billions of dollars, right? They take billions of dollars a year. Grand Theft Auto 5, $6 billion, was it a couple of years ago that it had taken over its life cycle, and it's still selling really, really well now in comparison to any other game that's been out that long, or anything. Is it now that we have that level of freedom, there's no denying that a lot of the most popular games in existence now are the freeform ones, the ones with infinite replayability. As Matthew says, the modders, I might not say the glitch fest, but the modders playbox, right? You can mod the living pants off it, you can turn it into anything. I saw they said review games in one line, and Skyrim's review was mod it till it breaks, which sounds about right? That infinite replayability, is that where games need to go now in order to survive? Because if you look at the most successful games out there, Fortnite, no story, just an open world playbox, infinite replayability. Skyrim, same thing. Minecraft, same thing, no story. There is kind of a story in Skyrim, I guess, but you don't have to follow it. You can abandon it with completely no side effects whatsoever. Is that now the future of gaming? There's no denying there's a correlation. And I don't know. I'm not trying to suggest or convince you one way or the other. I just think it's really interesting that if you get something like Starfield, which seems to have fallen short of some people's expectations. I really enjoy it, but there's no denying there is a lot of people out there who say, a lot of the outposts are cookie cutter, and they are, that a lot of the combat on planets gets repetitive, and it does. you know, if you put something against Squadron 42 up against it, is it going to keep the player numbers? Is it going to do any of that sort of stuff? It'd be really interesting to see. Yeah. Sorry, Matthew says, if you let the players make content by giving them some tools, you increase the replayability and extends the end game. Like, imagine an entire ore going a moon. Medical refueling, refining. Yeah, exactly. And I think this is where I'm trying to keep it dead to Star Citizen. Sorry, that's not what I'm doing. That's the opposite of what I'm doing. I'm trying to keep it to Squadron 42 and to Starfield, because Starfield still allows you to do that sort of trading and setting up something of a trading cartel, right? And what you can't do now will be modded into the game in future. It'll be interesting to see people try to do that with Squadron 42. I don't think there's the same sort of scope for that, if at all, because of how it's set up. It runs on Rails. Does that mean it's doomed? I don't know. GTA 5 got a second life for the RP community, says Shady Face. Yeah, 100%. And it's because it allows that framework of go in and do what you want. But yeah, I've often thought about going and doing a GTA 5 policeman thing, but then I get in and I just start blowing stuff up. I enjoy that too much, so maybe that's not what a policeman should be doing, right? But yeah, so I think that's just really interesting. Matthew says, well, look at Halo. When it first comes out, everyone goes nuts for the campaign. Now everyone's on the online multiplayer. Every time they release a Halo, it's always campaign and then PvP. Yeah, 100%. Errol MC says, there's room for both. I think Squadron 42 will offer much more depth and an interesting storyline. Not sure open worlds can offer the same. Yeah, I'd be tempted with that. The problem, I think, when you start to offer the notion of people being able to play games in their own way is, and solve problems the way they want to solve it, is you can't possibly program at the moment for every possible means of solving a problem, right? It's just, yeah, good luck with that. So if you can't, there's always going to be a group of people that are disappointed that the way they want to solve a problem hasn't come to fruition, right? And that is 100% as well. So it's interesting that, you know, there's this mismatch and this balance of, or this imbalance of how things might work. Right, let's release Chris, bless him. Now he's done his thing, we can release him and go on a little bit, I guess, to the next thing. So let's see. What's up next? It doesn't want to do that. Okie dokie. So, here we go then. We're going to get into this stuff. Now, before we start this, I'm just going to do the one-line disclaimer that I always do, which is none of this is an invitation to go and attack anyone. That's not what we do. I know you guys know that. But for anyone new in here, we don't go and attack people after this stuff. This is not a call to attack. This is a rebuttal to the way people think, right? But it's really interesting. And this goes back to what I was saying about haters using copium, right? Because a lot of what this person says sound an awful lot like what they were accusing, or what we have been accusing the refunds community of doing for an awful long time. Okay, so here we go. Backers don't realize how unhinged and toxic they are behaving right now. Okay, this is 4 days ago. Right, so here comes the copium. Let's do it. And it's cringeworthy to see backers shouting the praises of their Lord and Saviour Chris Roberts. I mean this literally. They are tap dancing over some trailers and concepts they were shown, none of which is actually in their hands right now. The faithful flock to other communities and harass them, downvoting anyone with common sense, rational takes. You know, that one thing they've always falsely accused us of doing. No, they have accused you of doing that. And you have done that. Right, and it happens now. There's even videos that are not controversial in any way, will always get downvoted, right? Dislikes on videos. It always happens. I get it if there's something in the video where you have, people are going to disagree with you, or people don't like the audio, or they don't like the background music, or whatever it is. 100%, I'm there with all of it, right? However.com. I'm just going to pop some background music on while we're talking. You may or may not recognize it for the lols. So, yeah, there's all that sort of stuff. Let me know if the background music gets too loud. So that always happens, right? Shouting the praises of their Lord and Saviour, Chris Roberts. This basically boils down to they're not attacking him, they're defending him, or they're saying that maybe this has happened or maybe that has happened. Great. Sorry, I'm just going to catch up with some. So Stunner says, I think what Chris Roberts did was smart from the standpoint is making both games for each audience instead of going the route of Starfield that, in my opinion, tries to skirt both concepts, story and replayability. Yeah, 100%. Can says, hello, Can. Oh God, you got an oxygen mask. This atmosphere is nothing but pure copium. Really interesting. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Okay. So, just going to top up. Okay. I want to say they've reached the pinnacle of cult behaviour, but I know they can go higher, and it reminds me that the SE community is a major reason why I will never support CIG. I'm sure many browsing cultists, a term again I use literally, will look at me and say that and consider it a win. It's one less refundian after all. Unfortunately for you lot, though, many people share my sentiments. Yes. The flat Earth community have many people that believe that the Earth is flat. Great. People holding a view doesn't make it true. Unfortunately for them. So, sorry, you're shit out of luck. The other bit where they say, reminds me that the SE community is a major reason why I never support CIG. To not play a game because of the actions of a community outside of a game is a really interesting take. I kind of guess if it butts up against your principles, I understand, and no one's going to force you to play a game. No one's going to force you to support CIG. If you don't enjoy it, if it's a community that you don't like, that's fine. You don't have to. No one's forcing you. It's all right. I'd like to share some lies and conspiracy theories that the SE community has spouted over the years. Yeah, using a community as a monolithic is a bit of a straw man. So, because someone that supports CIG says it, it doesn't make it representative of the community. But, okay. Anyone who criticises the game is a refundian in disguise, because it's unfathomable that backers can have minds of their own. I mean, not really. Sorry, I've got weird stuff going on in the back of my... No, don't do that. No, don't do that. Sorry. I tried to play music that demonetized me last time. Oh well, demonetized now. Anyone who anyone who criticizes the game. No, because I've criticized the game, and you guys have criticized the game, and that's not the same thing. It's fine. Okay, that this community has doxed or harassed developers and their family, an outright lie has never been proven, yet is still repeated to this day. I don't know, but didn't Chris Roberts in his letter to one of the papers that did a hit piece on thing say that basically the location of where his kids went to school had been released? Don't know. I've not seen, but I know he made the claim in his letter. We're on the same level as the KKK because we criticize developers of a video game. Well, you're not. You're allowed to criticize what you want, and that doesn't make you a thing. That's the same thing as like people calling people Nazis for having a difference of opinion. What's the law? The it's only 14 back and forth comments before someone will call someone else a Nazi on the internet. I forget what it was called, but that was that. The doxing was done by a specific individual, so can. That wouldn't be, what's his face? Creator of Battlecruiser 3000 AD, would it? Okay. That were the same as Flat Earthers, because we don't take the words of a developer known for lying, misleading back as literally. No, you're the same as Flat Earthers because you believe that because other people hold your view, that your view must be the correct one. That's why you're a Flat Earther. Okay? You don't, known for lying or misleading backers. Well, the thing here is to be able to do that when you said still not been proven, I guess you have to prove that at the time they made a comment they knew that it wasn't true. Because otherwise what's actually happening is they're claiming something without the standing to be able to claim it, and then they're having to backpedal later on. It's not the same thing. I'm not saying they don't lie, but in the same way that you get to decide what your criteria are for wanting to be part of a community, whatever, we get to decide whether or not we can take people at their word. I'm not saying you have to do stuff with it. Please don't tell me I have to. Anyone who criticizes the game while claiming to develop being a developer is lying about being a developer. Conversely, anyone who praises the game while claiming to be a developer is being 100% truthful. So that's confirmation bias. That happens quite a bit on both sides. You look for things that affirm your viewpoint whilst denying anything that doesn't. You know, in the same way that you up here, a developer known for lying or misleading, okay, cool. What statements have they said that are true? Because you're just looking for the lies. You're not looking for the truth. SE didn't really start development until current year, whatever sounds good at the time. No. So it started development back in 2012. But with 12 people working out of a basement. And not all of them were devs. And you can see this if you go to their financials. I might even pull this stuff up, right? You can see this when you go to it, because Target, yes it is. Yeah. Good Winlaw, thank you, Richard. Yeah, that's it. That is the Refundian subreddit. There's two things Target Drone I wanna respond to specifically, and try and, I don't know, maybe ease over the concerns. I'm never going to convince the Refundians to support the game. They're never going to convince me to not support the game, and that's fine. By my mind, I don't care. I don't want to convince anyone to do anything. I want to support it, and those that want to get into it, I want to help them, and those that don't are more than welcome to go. But we also know that in 2015, the scope of the development changed massively. And they went back to revisit, and you can see that through their own videos. You can go back to like the handling module at the time and see how things massively changed. So they basically started again. So no, they didn't start development, but they restarted it. Lying about development times, budgets of other games to make SC look better. The problem with this is the information is so scant. Again, the reason I use Red Dead 2 in one of my earlier videos is that is the most accurate we have, and they put the development cost at about 242 million. But having said that, that doesn't take into account the salaries of all the permanent staff. And remember, I just said that there are 600 people maintaining the game engine for Rockstar. That wasn't taken into account. So 600 people over 8 years maintaining the game engine is a bucket load of money. And that's why it's really hard, because it's really hard to understand when you have a studio that develops multiple games and you've got people working on both and that sort of stuff. It's really hard. Actually, Star Citizen is the one that's quite easy to keep track of because they're only making these two games. So you've only got two games to compare about. And you don't really have to, there's no other games you need to take into account. There's no turnover from anything. It's purely what comes from. See. Target Joan, but didn't you hear that Star Citizen will fold like a house of cards 90 days tops? Yeah, 100%. I have seen people huff that copium an awful lot. Anytime negative criticism hits the SE community, it's somehow an organised Black Ops effort on our part. I don't think so. I think it's a culture thing at the minute, and it's not just games. It's so easy to knock stuff down, right, and not have any idea of what to replace it with or thing. You look at anything, defund the police. All right, great. What are you going to replace it with? Don't know. Just break it. Okay, fine. Break the government. What are you going to replace it with? Don't know. Just break it. Okay, fine. We need to. Whatever it is, it's so much easier to criticise, break stuff down, than it is to go, do you know what? This is actually quite cool. But, whatever. These aren't one-off comments that were downvoted either. They've frequently been said in one form or another and always been met with a positive response by the wider SC community. What I've listed here is just the tip of the iceberg. I haven't included all the retconning that has gone on over the years. Don't know what you're getting at with that. Been met with a positive response. That normally is someone has seen that someone else has gotten likes on their comment in an argument, and that kind of extends to, oh, they're all ganging up on me. No, they just made a good point, and you don't like it. While I admit the occasional bout of criticism accepted in the SE community, okay, so they do accept criticism, it's still met with reactionary post comments from White Knights. People criticising CIG will provide direct quotes to support what they say, and they're still frequently downvoted to oblivion for no reason other than the fact they criticised your Holy Grail. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it's this weird thing that goes back to the culture. If you don't like it, what are you doing here? So there's a car manufacturer in the UK called Aston Martin. Now, I always joke to my ex-girlfriend that if ever I won the lottery, she'd know, because she'd come home and there'd be an Aston Martin parked in the driveway. I wouldn't even bother calling her. I'd go get the car first, right? I really like Aston Martin. I don't like their prices. What I don't do is spend all day on Aston Martin message boards and in the Aston Martin dealership complaining about how I don't like their prices. I don't like the game The Sims. I don't like Championship management sims. It's a spreadsheet. You're playing a spreadsheet, you weirdo. However, I don't ever criticise anyone else for doing it, and I certainly don't create an entire message board dedicated to hating the type of game or the specific game or the people that are doing it. So there. Okay. The whole thing is, if you don't like it, move on. If you stop enjoying a hobby, a hobby is no longer a hobby, it's a chore. Right? If you hate doing something, it's not a hobby. A hobby is done for enjoyment. If you hate it, by definition, it can't be a hobby. So stop doing it and do something else. If you don't enjoy your game anymore, I don't enjoy Tarkov anymore. I used to really enjoy it. I don't enjoy it anymore. So I don't play Tarkov. I'm not in message boards. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not that talking about how Tarkov's hit registry is shit, because it is. Right? How it's really jank sometimes. How, it takes ages to find a match. All that sort of stuff. I don't. I've moved on. And this is why people react. They're not reacting to what you're saying about the game. They're reacting to this constant need to kick it, despite the fact you yourself have declared you don't want part of it. So don't take part in it. So when I look at how the SE community has behaved the last week, it's only proved everything I've ever said about it. Has anyone just seen, the stick men, and they're playing a game, put on the screen whatever you want here, and it's like, oh my god, that game has outdated graphics, and the engine's really bad. Stop having fun, and he's screaming it. Like, this literally is that. Right? Something's happened that's excited the SC community, and this person has taken this amount of time to write this. Matthew says, I wonder how much the funding to the game will explode when they start marketing Squadron 42. Yeah, that's quite interesting. When they put it back on sale. Now that they're building hype for it, I reckon it'll come back a little bit more than it was before. Citizen Scott says, a lot of people conflate those people with the project itself. Yeah, 100%. And I used to work for a company called Games Workshop. They make tiny toy soldiers, like Space Marines and all that sort of stuff, right? And you build them and you paint them yourselves. And we have something very similar to this, right? So I used to manage the Birmingham store when I first left the Navy. It was my first job after leaving the military. And I used to, people would come in. And the idea is with sales is I used to talk to you about what you were excited about. And then when you got really excited, I would say, cool, do you want to buy that? Right? Unfortunately, people who don't think it through, when you walk in, you feel like you're being bombarded with questions. Because the question would be, hi, what's brought you in today? Oh, I wanted to look at... okay, cool. Do you collect those? Yeah. Well, you don't really sound excited about that. What is it you're excited about? Oh, well, I really like these guys. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, what is it you like about them? Oh, I really like this. Awesome. What would you do with them if you got them? Oh, I do this. Cool, should we get those now? That's it. That's the buying technique. Find out what you're excited about and then ask you if you want to buy it. And that's it. The amount of people who would come in and you'd start asking them and go, oh, I haven't played this in 5 years. I just don't like it. I'd be like, okay, cool. No issue. I'm going to go serve some. Oh, do you not like it when someone doesn't like the product? No, I'm just, I'm wasting my time talking to you. You are, you said you don't enjoy it. You said you haven't played it for ages. You said you don't buy any of it. I'm not going to bother you. What's the point? I'm not, it's not my job to convince you into the hobby. That's not how we do it. And it's exactly the same here. Richard says, people seek external validation, which is what they are attempting with posts like this. They want others to tell them they're right so they can feel better about their own life choices. Pretty sad, really. Yeah, and this is it. And, I saw a great post on Facebook, on the Star Citizen Facebook group. Someone said, I don't like this. It's more complicated than DCS. I just can't fly anything. I bought a Nomad. It doesn't work. 63 quid down the drain, blah. And all of the comments, bar none, were, dude, if it's only been 24, 48 hours, you should be able to get a refund. Go speak to these people. My comment was something like, I'm really sorry you didn't enjoy it. In my opinion, their marketing at the moment shows it off to be able to do more than it is, and it's creating false expectations, and that's not your fault, that's their fault. So, good luck with getting a refund and stuff. And funnily enough, he removed the post and completely reposted and said, I've removed the previous one, I've decided to keep it, I'm going to give it a go. I played with this person, and they're really helping me. So, the opposite of what people... you see a lot of people say, I don't want to. And the cult would be like, no, stay with us, one of us. And it's just not happening at the moment. There might be a few people who are like, I'll stick with it and stuff. But that's not cult behaviour. That's just, someone made the point, just as Richard's done. Dude, if you've actually played DCS, you know that this is nowhere near as complicated, right? This is like, U powers on your ship, I powers on your engines, O powers on your shields, P powers on your weapons. It's not DCS. But, a couple of people pointing that out, but it wasn't aggressive. So when I look at how the SE community has behaved in the last week, it has only proved everything I've ever said about it. This is the biggest instance of the pot being the kettle I've ever seen. He's not wrong, just not in the way he thinks he's right. This is the toxic, or this is their own tactics being shadowed back at them, right? And just being reflected back. And they don't like it. Well, we're just saying how we don't like it, and I'm allowed to voice my opinion, and now the people who enjoy it are doing it, and they're getting screamed at as white knights. And there you go. The icing on the cake is the backers don't even realise how unhinged they appear. That's it now. It's not that we're wrong. It's not that the game's not being released. It's not that this is vaporware or a scam. It's now we all appear unhinged. You keep huffing that copium, fella, because it doesn't seem to be doing very well for you. They celebrate in other communities like they've won because they were shown some trailers. No, we were shown gameplay, my friend. We were shown gameplay. We were shown a massive firefight with the scenery deconstructing around them. We were shown med pen use. We were shown personal scanning. We were shown a whole bunch of stuff in an actual gameplay segment. So no, it's not just trailers. Sorry, you're wrong. Nothing is even in their hands yet. No, it's not. That's why we're backers. Enjoy your gloating while you can, I guess. This is it now, is that in the same way that there are people who look at refundians who go in and criticise the game as trying to force it on people, when the refundians say, we're not doing that, they're now going to accuse us of doing the same thing. I am sorry, if you have called this a scam for the last 10 years, and we are now proving you wrong, well, we're not, CRG are now proving you wrong. CRG are proving that you were talking crap, right? And that everything that people said about wait, it will come, is now being proved right. That's your fault. It's not a win or lose thing. You're just being proven wrong. Enjoy your gloating where you can. Just know that the wider gaming community does not appreciate your toxic behaviour just because you drank some more Kool-Aid. Yeah, okay. So I'm just going to do something. Let's try this. So, does the first refundian back again close to release? Question mark. What do you reckon? Does this person now, when Squadron 42 or Star Citizen's about to come out, do you reckon they back again? Is that a thing? Do they go and do that? Let me know in the poll. I'm going to be really interested. Whilst you're doing that, Citizen Scott says, what I see is a lot of refundians, mad they were shunned by the community. Yeah, if you've got people that are overtly negative, you're just gonna get rid of them. You're gonna stop listening to what they say, and that's that. Notorious ALB says, R powers on everything, one button and go. It used to, they've changed it now. The flight ready key is something else. It's Alt R, I think. But yeah, I get your point. Statement is very selling. They act like they have won. This person thinks it's a competition to be won, like it was backers versus refundians all along. 100%. And that's why this was created. People cannot stand losing internet arguments. Although I can't remember the last internet argument I won. It was today. But yeah. Badges is going to get absolutely smashed on Kool-Aid when the purchase comes out. Dude, I'm going to have an intravenous drip. I'm not even just going to be drinking it. I'm going to be injecting it straight. Sorry, YouTube. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. Please don't defund. I've been demonetized. Great. You're assuming they properly left in the first place. Wouldn't that be sweet? Matthew, CCU game is great, but the view on Badges when he flies in a fleet of purchase is going to be godly. Mate, I can't wait. There are so many people, and of course, you are all welcome. I will make a community event. We'll do a video on it. I'll record it all. We'll try and get everyone in Discord. We'll have some fun. We really will have some fun. It'll be cool. You know, whether you've got a Perseus or whether you just want to come and gun hours, like, loads of people are going to go and do it. It's going to be great. Citizen Scott says, tell that to Salty Mike. Which bit? Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Which bit am I telling Salty Mike? I'll happily do it, but which bit? Notorious says, I'm going to be snorting crystal copium when the Idris comes out. Nice. Now I really am demonetized. Thanks for that, buddy. Ray Louderbeck says, refundians enjoy the attention. And that's the thing. I think most of them just leave. They sell up on the grey market or they get a refund. The amount of posts I've seen with people going, how does this work? I haven't been back in ages. Like, I've got no idea what's going on. So, yeah. Like, I think most of them just leave. It's like the hobby, like I said, right? I have people coming into the store going, when I was working for Games Workshop, I don't like this, I don't do it. There's too much skulls and everything. And when you just went, okay, cool, fine. You're not going to debate me. No, why would I? It's just ridiculous. The other thing that we would have, unfortunately, is, you know, there's a very vocal minority in the Games Workshop community who want to point out that everything's crap, and they are the vocal minority. Unfortunately, because they're vocal, they seem to be the majority because no one else is talking. Because no one takes to stuff. If you're really happy with the product, you don't go out and complain. You don't go about and shout it about the heavens. It's the negative culture, right? It's really weird to go out. It's much better to go out and when you see someone, oh, you wouldn't believe, but my car's been an absolute nightmare. You don't say it until someone goes, oh, how's your car been? Yeah, it's running like a dream. It's fine, no problem. If you've had problems, that's not the conversation you have. It goes on for ages in exquisite detail. It's the culture, right? But yeah. Badger's face when he finds he gets a rocket paralysis isn't going to be YouTube safe. It's going to be that one where the guy's going. It's going to be a lot of that. I don't want to know how that looked on video. I'm sorry that I zoomed in for that. Yeah, just it's not good. Matthew says purchase gets delayed. Backroom music quite loud. Thank you, mate. I shall knock it back down. Thank you for letting me know. But yes, so that's that. Music is loud. Thank you. I think some of the bits of music are louder than others. There's certain bits that I just can't have on. Really, I should get them off my playlist. But yeah. Good things the stream's not monetized after that face. Thanks, Can. We need to screenshot that face to give the info runners a heads up. Yeah, please don't. You monsters. You absolute monsters. Okay. So let's go on to the second bit of the refund funniness. Let's have a look. Okay. I'm not seeking a mere refund. What I truly want is to be compensated tenfold or receive everything that was promised. I instantly have a problem with that title. Why should you have it back tenfold? The entitlement. I didn't get what I want, so I should have more than I initially... Cool. Okay. This is... Like, I feel like we need some other music. I'm going to see if I can find a piece of music. Just bear with me. I'm just going to pop the volume down on that one. Because I feel like this should be in the background. Even if it's licensed, I will take the demonetization. Because it's funny. I'm just going to see if I can find it now. So hopefully you don't hear it. Oh God, I'm trying to remember what the honestly I can't remember. What's the what's that bit of music? And it was always told on a story on TV. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Am I just too old for this now? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're... What's it called? I really hope we can figure out what it is. Because I think it's like open source, but yeah. Target. Yeah, I know, mate. Yeah. R-Tune, Radio 1 Stad Story. Mate, you are perfect. Right. Sorry, something's just happened in the background. I'm gonna be back in just a second. I'm gonna leave you with a really cool time lapse of Horizon. Back in just a mo. Okay, and we're back. Sorry about that. I'm back with you now. So, I found it. Thank you very much to Domo. You've absolutely looked after me on that one. Thank you very much for finding that. I didn't think about it until I read that top line, and I was like, oh my god, yes, let's do it. So, I'm just going to check that this comes up in the levels, but here we go. Okay. I've carried a heavy burden for far too long, and it's time the Star Citizen community woke up to the reality we face. We've been fed promises and dreams for over a decade, but it's high time we face the facts. For starters, let's talk about unfulfilled promises and the potential for organisational innovation. We were promised shared ships and territories, and it's been nothing but a distant dream. It's time to draw a parallel with a game like Starfield, which has already made significant progress in delivering on its initial promises. It's clear that our voices are not isolated. Many share our concerns. It's time to bring these issues to the forefront and hold Chris Roberts accountable for the commitments he made for our community. I've been a dedicated supporter of Star Citizen, but all I see is deception and diversion. Our attention is being misdirected and our investments are being mishandled. It's time to shine a light on these issues and demand transparency. I've been actively engaged in this project for years, and it's disheartening to see how little progress has been made. Starfield, a game with fewer resources, has managed to deliver on its promises, while Star Citizen continues to lag behind. The ongoing engine revisions are a constant source of frustration. Chris Roberts' obsession with immersion has driven talented individuals away from the project. Starfield offers a seamless and immersive experience, loading screens, while Star Citizen's interaction is limited to loot chests and NPC bodies. It's time for a change in leadership. Chris Roberts should step aside from day-to-day leadership and let fresh minds... I've got to stop that music because otherwise I'm going to get demonetized. Too buggery. Let's go back and do that again because it's funny. Yeah, wherever we were. It's time for a change in leadership. Chris Roberts should step aside from day-to-day leadership and let fresh minds steer the product. We've lost faith in his ability to deliver on promises. Why were we encouraged to preserve artistic freedom and safeguard the game from big gaming companies? Why were newsletters detailing our money's usage provided while promises remain unfulfilled? It just goes on and on and on. And it's just like... Star Citizen's development has cost nearly 4 times that of Starfield, yet the latter is functional and enjoyable. It's time to prioritise playability over aesthetics. I've heard all the reasons for lack of progress, but when I started my own company, I realised that with substantial resources, projects can be expedited. Chris Roberts seems to exert excessive control over the project. I initially posted here to seek more features for our organisations, but CIG lacks confidence in delivering on those promises. Instead, we have a dormant guild with over 300 members who haven't logged in for 7 years. It's clear that many organisations face a similar fate. The evidence spawns a decade, and it's time for a change. I can provide a compelling case for a class action lawsuit. As I poured my heart and soul into this game, only to feel neglected and betrayed. Let's work together to address these issues and hold CIGB accountable. It's time for change, and it starts with us. The community demanding better. Don't let your investments go to waste. Demand transparency and action. That has to be a troll post. Please tell me that's a troll post. Please tell me that's a troll post. That was exhausting. Just reading that. Like, I could do an entire video. I'm not going to because it would be a hit piece, right? But oh, just like it needed that read. I just, yeah. Hello, Jedi Drifter. Good to see you. Shadow, welcome. Didn't see you sneak in there. Demanding transparent aluminum. Good, or aluminium for the real speakers. Yeah. Jenny Faze asks, is it bad that this person's crying Reddit post pleases me? SC living rent free. Yeah, boohoo, exactly that. What did they log in 7 years ago? The hangar module with the 300-ish people org. Yeah, in the hangar. 300 people in the hangar. They've just gone backwards, Star Citizen. They can't handle it. Is this the sort of person that owns every piece of merch because they are that obsessed? Without a shadow of a doubt. Shadow Girl. See what I did there? That was clever. Without being intentional. Wine sobbing. Yeah, absolutely. Monster AV, hello, mate. Good evening. I'm pretty sure we had this guy or his twin in the info Discord a little while ago back. Target drone says the name. He who shall not be named. Don't say his name. He'll appear. He can't. He's legally bound to not now. Heard anything from these last few years? No. What was really interesting was I actually interacted with Derek Smart on Twitter back when he was giving SC a kicking, right? And I'd not long backed the game myself, and I genuinely didn't know who he was until I started reading into it, right? Because I don't do the Twitters, they're not my thing. I don't do TikTok because I'm like not 12. That's going to have offended a few people. Oh well. Yeah. So, and I said, look, what's? I'm not sure what's the problem. And he responded. To be fair, the first message was fairly even-handed, and he said, "Oh, that they might not deliver. That the scope of the project might be too much for the funding." And I said, I get you, but what you're talking about. Isn't that just kind of the threat with any Kickstarter? Isn't that the risk? At which point, very, very maturely, I thought, he responded by pointing out that I had nowhere near as many followers from him. In fact, I didn't have any followers, I don't think. I'd only just created the Twitter account. And how no one was going to listen to me because I don't have that many followers. Like, what? Like, what's that got to do with what he said not being normal than Jedi? 100%, my friend. Just really weird. I don't know. But that would be an example of that. Look, there's so much in that, and it's just so negative that I'm not going to go into it. But I don't need to point out how much of that shit's wrong, right? Do I? No? Good. We can get rid of that. I did like the music bit on that though. That was fun. I enjoyed doing that. That was so weird. I don't understand. Just like I poured my heart and the soul to the game, so you've played it. We've all played it. That's why we're all here. But yeah, that's fun. Yeah, it's just crazy. But I just wanted to respond because what we're going to see now is those of us that have been here a while. Squadron 42 seems to be a bit of a turning point. It went viral for a Star Citizen video. Lots of people watched it. It's bringing old people. Level Cap all of a sudden is making videos about Star Citizen again. He reappeared for CitizenCon streams. The reaction to the video was largely positive around people are reporting on the fact that Squadron 42 is feature complete and so on and so forth. And actually, now I think is the uptick, is where people are going to take more of an interest in the game and more of an interest in the whole development. And it's important to remember that at the outset of this development for a decade, the community was under attack from the community at large, right? It is okay to point out that they've missed promises. It's okay to point out that that's a lot of money for seemingly not a lot of output. I'm not saying any of those is under attack. It's fine to point out that there were missed deadlines. It's fine to point out that there's feature creep. None of those things are an attack. They are legitimate observations and legitimate criticisms. Of course they are. The bit where people have been under attack is where people started to insinuate that the people backing the game weren't seeing the full picture. Right? It is possible to see the same information and come to a different conclusion. Right? You'll notice that my criticism of the first person was not that they doubted the game. It was that they were incapable of seeing why we supported it. And that's important. It's not that there weren't bad words on both sides. There were. People really went at it hammer and tongue a while back. But to try and tar an entire community on the actions of a few is when you start attacking people, right? And at the risk of being a little political, it's why I'm no fan of the phrase or the hashtag not all men as a criticism, right? You don't get to tar everyone with the same brush because they're part of a community or whatever, okay? You just don't. People are individuals. You treat them as individuals and you treat them with respect, and that's what this community has been built on. And you know, we always do it. And you know, Citizen Scott will say that I had a bit of fun with him and the post CitizenCon stream, mainly because I'd had a few to drink at that point. But you know, again, it wasn't attacking you, Citizen Scott, and if you felt that way, I really apologise. That's not what I intended. It was about what you said, and I kind of asked you to I think I asked you to prove something or whatever else. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, you know, you are always welcome here, and everyone is welcome, as long as they treat each other with respect. Disagreement is fine. You can disagree all the time. The minute you start attacking each other for that, or insinuating that people are stupid because of it or whatever else, you're out. Don't need that here. If you love games, you are my people. That's it. Right? We are the same, and I don't care who you are or what the background is. It's on that sort of stuff. Yeah, right. Drinkers with gaming problems had a few to drink. Yeah, it's so. I don't normally tend to do it a lot on stream. I'll have one or two, but I'm not going to lie. At CitizenCon, the drinking game was a little bit crazy. So just so you can see, the drinking game on day 2 was this. Unfortunately, I'll see if I can change the screen over just quickly, because it's what I've got it on in the minute. Because it's light, it doesn't work great. So let's put it on Roadmap Roundup. Let's do that one. There you go. So the drinking game triggers are down the side. Target drain, and basically anytime anyone said, I get soon, Squadron 42, and everything else, right? All the bits at the bottom. I was checking a bit and skip right over drinks. So right at the end, we got to the stage where, on the first day, it was 3.5 cans, right? And I had 8. Fucking bugs. I saw that one as well. I'm going to stop having the windows open. I'm not going to air this place out anymore, because the minute I do, I've got woods over there, there's a marsh over there, and they just fucking flood the place, bastards. Right. See what I mean? So, 3.5. So I thought, that's okay, I've got 4 more cans, that'll be enough for the same. I got to the end of these, pretty drunk. Well, I'd say pretty drunk. I was alright. I was fine. But then, right, the only alcohol I had left at that point that was of a drinkable state was the Talisker 10-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey. Okay, this is not a gulping drink. This is a very fabulous whiskey that deserves to be sipped and savoured. I'm not drinking it in a shot glass like a damn heathen, except I did one at the end of that stream to taste the people that have been in there with me for the whole thing. that was good, right? And that was a proper toast to people, so that's allowed. But I'm not doing it just because someone used a beam in a video. That's just heathen behaviour, and it's not good, right? So no, I didn't drink those bits. And if you're thinking, Target, yes, but I'm still factually correct, and you skipped quite a few drinks, you're right. I'm just trying to misdirect people, all right? But yes, yeah, the beams was a mistake. Yeah, using beams, I'm not doing that again ever. Because it even got to the bit like with the house, with the base building stuff. One of the extractors was using a beam, and at that point I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. So that was good fun. But yeah, we're Star Citizens, we're used to bugs. Jedi, I see what you did there, mate. I like that. But yeah, kind of cool. So lots of good stuff. And the bit that I'm, do you know what? I'm just going to play it in the background because it's good fun. Whilst we do is we just need to look at a little bit. What's that? Badges needs a cooldown, like 30 seconds or something. Yeah, yeah. I don't. I think there was a lot about that Shadow Gale that I needed to kind of get in and maybe reassess, but it was too late. I'd committed and I wasn't gonna let you guys down. So yeah, oops, sorry, my bad. But yeah, very quickly, there's just one last bit that I want to have a look at. Within what they showed, because the more I think about it, and it was pointed out again, we chatted about it earlier in the week, was, and you guys are going to have to tell me which one, there we go, which one it is. So I'm going to kill the sound very quickly. I'm going to drop the music in the background. There we go. Are you being rude, Matthew, in Discord? Oh my god. If you do want to join Discord, there is a link down in the description. Let me know that you're in. I'll give you the roles and stuff. But yeah, you're a horrible human being. Stop doing that. Let's have a look. Okay. So I'm just going to play this in the background whilst it's on. Because it's kind of crucial, right? So what you're seeing here is, in layman's terms, I'm just going to put it on. Don't worry, I'm going to show it. So what you're seeing here, as we watch through, in layman's terms, is the technical equivalent. When you change from server to server, here, when they changes from the coloured areas and he's booting things around. For World of Warcraft, this is loading into a dungeon with no loading screen. This is the equivalent of walking through the portal, and instead of it being a portal, there being a dungeon the other side of it. Right? But that dungeon is an instant server, and every party or every person walks into a different server if they're not in a party. That's what we're seeing. The technological achievement here is incredible. And if you'd asked me, and I said this, and I'll say it now that I'm sober, if you'd asked me at the time, before CitizenCon, and said, what do you think the biggest threat is to this project? My answer would simply have been that server meshing doesn't work. Because without server meshing, there is no game, right? And to see Chris react as he did when he recounts the story of being shown this, and I don't think, again, in fact, at the end, he does say that bit, and we'll have a look at that in just a second, right? But that's incredible. It's incredible. What they've achieved here is nothing short of miraculous, right? And there was a video. It was Brian Chambers talking to a chap about, and the question was, it was the one where the people that are watching the stream, there's two separate groups watching the stream. It was the same interview where Brian Chambers lets slip that there was that Squadron 42 was feature complete. He says that there's no plans to sell Star Engine at the moment. But the technology behind this is too good, and it could absolutely be licensed. They're not going to do that for the moment. They've said no, and that's a no. That's a no to all of it. They didn't say no to selling, but maybe to licensing. They said no to all of it. But what's really interesting, when people say, well, how are they going to do this in the future? How are they going to fund such a large server commitment when companies like Blizzard and, you know, the company that does, I forget what they're called, is it CCP that does EVE? They charge a subscription. How are they going to get around not charging a subscription when you think of how many servers they're going to have to run for dynamic server meshing? Obviously, they're still going to sell ships. I think one of the answers is potentially they start to license this out. They're not going to do it before they release their own game, because I don't think it would be great if they were to release it or to license it out and someone else releases a game on that engine before they do. They want the time. But after release, there's no reason they couldn't license the engine. And license it means they keep control over it. They can have, you know, they can say that you can't modify it or do this or do that or whatever. There's all sorts of things that they could do. But it would be an incredible way to earn money, because it's just such a powerful engine that they're putting together. And sure, there are benefits to others. Unreal 5 is looking like an amazing engine. I get it. But or whatever it is, Unreal 5, Unity 5, what, that thing, you know what I mean, the Epic Games one. Some of it's looking absolutely incredible, but the technology behind this is awesome. You'd like to see CBS license it for Star Trek, Shadowgirl? That would be really cool. Yeah, the Battlestar Galactica, this Star Wars, Warhammer 40,000 on this would be utterly incredible. Planet fights, they've got mechs that are like 50, 60, 70 meters tall, multiple crews, they're called Titans. Oh my god, yes, it would just be utterly incredible. Just so good. Macho says port it all over to UE5. Mate, no, you'll just add another 20 years to the development cycle. Don't do it, you monster. Good to see you, Macho, by the way. It's always good to have you, buddy. But yeah, absolutely. They'll license out meshing, says Target. Yeah. Will probably depend on how tied meshing is to the engine. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they could do the meshing bit themselves, right? They could do that as a separate thing, because people are going to want that regardless of what engine you're using. So that's quite impressive. Each Titan is a server. Yeah, absolutely. I want Bethesda to license it. Interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible what they've achieved. Macho says, everyone said it couldn't be done for years. Glad they finally silenced people who always say it cannot be done. 100%. Yeah, and just to finish off, I can think of no better way of finishing off the stream than this. So let's just have a look here.
It's been a really long journey to get to this point. And I've got to say, the team has done an amazing job. They've been working diligently for the last 4, 5 years. We've had a couple of false starts. We've finally have an incredible, I mean, the way the replication layer works and how we can spin up servers and down and keep the state constant, even if a server goes down, is, I think, a genius design. And the first time I saw this, about 3 weeks ago, working fully, I cried. It's like giving birth.
We did it!
And we wouldn't have been able to do this and work on this kind of tech without all your support.
That's right.
100%. Now, you guys
and your trust.
allowing us to take the time to do it right, to really build it. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So much for everyone, and thank you everyone at CIG that's really worked hard to deliver all this amazing stuff that will be either in your hands now or in your hands very soon. And this is just the beginning of CitizenCon. We got a lot more stuff to show you.
Yeah. That's what we need for this MMO, guys. That's what we need.
Great demo, by the way.
That is quite the way to end the stream. And, without being too corny about it, we all get to say that we held the line. It's been a pleasure, guys. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.